Now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, Creatures of the Night.
Welcome, my fellow creatures of the night, to the Boulet Manor on this cold and dark winter's night. How are you feeling now that the holidays are behind us and a new year has officially begun?
I feel like I'm just begun my long sleep. Like every night that goes on now that everything has been done, I've been sleeping longer and longer and dreaming and just languishing in the darkness. And I've been so happy because I'm feeling good.
I'm excited to hear that because
Yeah.
when you dream, you come up with really fun ideas. So this is usually our period where we rest and we come up with new ideas. And I can't wait to hear what you come up with.
A lot of fun stuff coming up.
Are you excited for 2026?
No, I don't think I am excited. I think I'm just bracing and ready for each moment as it comes because I thought I knew what 2025 was going to be like. And in some ways I did with our workflow and stuff, but I could never have guessed where our country would be and where the world would be and where politics
not
could
the
be.
country and the politics.
Yeah. And of course, that's what comes to my mind, right? When you say, oh, are you ready for 2026? I'm like, well, 2025 was kind of amazing, but in some ways, it was kind of a nightmare.
I hear that.
So
I'm thinking more from like our personal point of view. I think you're always the detail person that puts the fine points on our project, and I'm the broader picture person.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I am very excited for 2026.
Good.
I see what's on the horizon. I've looked into the crystal ball. I see a fabulous and exciting tour coming our way, and that is not me just sort of bullshitting the crowd. Honestly, I think the tour is going to be so good. It's selling really well already. We're actually might be adding dates, but I'm not going to say that out loud. Too loud beyond the podcast, at least.
Yeah.
So everyone
It'll
stay
happen.
tuned for that.
It'll happen.
I think the tour is going to be really good. I think we have an exciting season of the show to come.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is another project in the works that I'm really excited about, and we'll be opening our show at Not Scary Farms in the fall. So I think this year's going to be really great. You have a lot to look forward to.
Look, as far as Boulet world, it's going to be stellar. I think that 2025 was just a stepping stone up to a higher echelon that will be 2026.
Well, let me ask you, since you mentioned, what are your predictions, your 2026 predictions for politics and the world?
Oh, I don't want to even speak bad things into existence, but my fear is that this Venezuela thing is just step one. It's a precedence to be set, and the US is really stepping into its new role as the global villain. Like, we are the bad guys. And I don't know what it's going to take, but we need some brave leaders to get vocal and join to slow this bullshit down.
I actually disagree with the need for strong leaders to slow anything down. I think it's the responsibility of the people, and we have already failed. We have allowed our society to become uneducated, uninformed, and culpable, and what's the word I'm looking for? Vulnerable to control.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happened. And honestly, as lame as it sounds, the answer would have been to investing in education 10 years ago and continuing to make that a priority, paying teachers an attractive salary to make the job a job people want, taking really educated teachers, putting them in rural and urban areas and educating people so that they have a fighting chance to make intelligent decisions.
Mm-hmm.
We failed our people in that way, and I don't know what it's going to take to undo it. But I did want to ask you, with just us and the super monsters, meaning our winners from the show and us, do you think we could take over Greenland?
Oh, just that would be step one.
If it's up for grabs, should we take it?
Do we battle Trump? Do the super
We
monsters
don't even have to
unite?
battle him because once we take it over, he's not going to want to come there. There's going to be gay stuff all over it. Drag queens, they don't want it. They won't want it anymore.
The first order of business after the takeover is we rename it Queenland.
And I'm the president, President Dracmorda. So he's not going to come anymore.
And I'm the supreme prime minister.
Chancellor. No, you're the spiritual. What is the spiritual advisor?
Yeah.
The power behind the throne, cursing everyone, causing chaos.
It sounds like some of our history and some guilds we used to be part of.
Well, anyways, as much as I'd love to talk with you about the world getting destroyed, we're actually going to talk about Derry getting destroyed.
Yes.
So a lot of listeners at home have been asking us, what do you think of Welcome to Derry? What's your opinion on it? What's your take? So today we have dedicated this entire episode to talking about Welcome to Derry.
And just to set the stage, Drac and I have been a little preoccupied with a trip down memory lane. We've revisited a lot of Stephen King. We've been soaking up a lot of Carrie. We went and did a rewatch of the director's cut of The Shining. We went on to see what happened with the Overlook Hotel in the form of Dr. Sleep. And we're just primed now to talk about Pennywise and the world of it and Welcome to Derry. But
That's right.
We're not going to do that right away. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be opening up the doors, getting in the car, and driving all the way upstate to Derry.
All right, everybody, we are back. So just to give you a heads up, this isn't going to be a recap of Welcome to Derry, and it's not going to be like a beat-by-beat review. We're assuming that everybody who's listening has either watched it or is interested in hearing our opinions about it. This is just going to be us talking about what it's actually about, what we thought worked, what didn't, and why it feels the way it does. So let me give you a little quick overview about what Welcome to Derry is. Welcome to Derry is a prequel series set decades before it, focused less on Pennywise as a singular villain and more on Derry as a system where trauma, violence, and denial repeat. The show frames fear as normalized, inherited, and culturally protected, asking whether Pennywise is the cause of the town's rot or simply the feeling or simply the thing feeding on it. So Welcome to Derry is streaming on HBO Max. There's 8 episodes. Let's get into it.
It took us a minute to get into it. And I remember a listener question from a few weeks ago, specifically calling out Welcome to Derry. And I want to thank you, whoever you are out there, because you put us back onto the series. We're like, let's give it another chance. I'm really glad we did. It's not perfect, but I think there's tons of redeeming qualities and elements about it. It's very imaginative. Love some of the, I got some legitimate chills. Like when Swan gets the chills, that's when the fear strikes. And that's when I know, like, I'm like, ooh, like I really appreciated that. So there's some good stuff in there.
Before we start talking about it, I've been a little confused because the listeners really seem to like Welcome to Derry. The response critically is pretty good. The response from our cinephile film club friends is not good, but they hate everything.
They kind of do hate everything.
They hate everything.
Yeah.
They hate Osgood Perkins movies, which I love. They hate it. And I don't know. And honestly, the only stuff I hear them say that they love is stuff that they each make. And I don't know if they really love it or if they're just saying it because, you know what I mean?
To support their friends.
Right.
Yeah.
So who knows? So you know what? Everybody can have an opinion. That's fine if they don't like it. I half like it and half don't. So let's talk about it.
Okay.
So first.
Okay.
Is Pennywise the villain or is Derry already broken? What do you think?
I've read a little bit about this. And the piece that I think is the most interesting is that, you know, Pennywise is a villain. Pennywise is this pan-ultimate force that feeds off of darkness and fear. So is Pennywise a villain? Absolutely. But Pennywise doesn't thrive in perfect places. And Derry is already kind of dark and broken at the heart. That's why Pennywise landing there, it was so successful because he was able to feed off of this negativity that was sort of already present. I don't know. Did that answer the question?
I think so. I mean, I'm not a scholar of all things Stephen King. I know a lot of people are. So, you know, people may know more about this than I do. I know that it's been referenced that Derry is a reoccurring place where negative things happen. So I know that much about it. For me, I say no. Pennywise is the villain. Maybe Derry is already broken, but Pennywise is evil. Someone trapped him in that meteor for a reason and sent him into space, and he crashed on Earth. I think if he had crashed at a monastery, he still would do all this stuff.
That's actually interesting. I never really thought about that. I didn't think about it, Whoopi. I just have to go to the library. That Pennywise was like something somewhere trapped him and
cast him out.
Yeah,
and maybe
I just hadn't thought about that.
I mean, well, that's the way they're presenting it in this series. Now, I don't know. I forget the book. I read it so long ago. I don't even think it hints at his origin. But, I know that he comes from this bigger dimension with the Dark Tower and all that stuff. So I don't know if they sent it out of the dimension. I don't know. Who knows, But yeah, that I think Pennywise is evil, obviously, or someone wouldn't have trapped him and sent him anywhere.
Yeah.
Next, and this is something that we've talked about. Why are kids the real protagonists in this show and the adults always fail?
Well, because it's Goonies. It's Scooby-Doo. It's what it is. I'm not kidding.
You know what? I think you're right about that.
The answer, be Goonies.
It be Goonies.
But there is something about the imagination, the power of the imagination of a child. I remember, and it really wasn't that long ago.
Just a few years.
Just a few years when I was smaller, if you can imagine that. And the levels of fear that I could build in my own mind were pretty much bigger than anything I've seen in my adult life. Like the world was so elastic and malleable, and it was scary. It could be really scary. So I think through the eyes of a child, you're small, literally, and Pennywise is this universal cosmic force. It makes what's scary 10 times scarier.
I can see that. I mean, I know there's probably some lore to it because, Pennywise feeds on fear. So maybe you're right. Children tend to get scared more often than adults. So maybe that their prime as victims of him, I'm sure that's in the lore.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think so. And I got to give it to Welcome to Derry too, because I think part of the reason that Drac and I both were a little bit like, I don't know, is because like Drac said a couple of weeks ago, like the little kid gang of it all, we don't like seeing kids protected unrealistically, especially if they're like out on this Goonies Scooby-Doo mission and there's like some giant like killer clown fear entity and somehow they win. But the kids didn't always win.
No, a lot of them died.
There was like extreme violence and their bodies getting smashed against the theater wall and like eaten off the floor. And we were like, okay, yeah. Like, this is a ride I can get on. Like, I want to see this kind of violence because this is what would happen. And we're not protecting our little delicate human minds and morality by protecting the children. Like, we want to see them eaten by the monster, and we get that.
Yeah, I'm not advocating violence against children. It's more like if you're going to put children as the protagonist, then to make it realistic, they need to experience the same things an adult would if they put themselves in the line of a killer clown from outer space.
Yeah. Something that I think gets repeated throughout, and repetition is the key word here, is that the horror of Derry's has cycles. And in this world, specific to Welcome to Derry and Stephen King's It, every 27 years is the rhythm of terror. This is when the thing wakes up, when it wakes up, feeds enough, and then that cycle is over. What do you think about that idea?
It's interesting. It makes me think of locust swarms. Locusts, I just did a deep dive on locusts a while ago because remember we talked about, I said, what was that thing that happened when we were children? I remember there was this thing that happened where locusts like covered our town, and you said it happened to you too, but I guess it was worse where I was because I guess that's where it originated.
Yeah.
And it was like the end of the world, kind of. It felt crazy, but I was a kid, so your family's like, it's okay. And I guess it's okay. But like there was literally carcasses all over covering your car, the trees, your house. And And then I didn't see it again for a long time. And it has a similar, I want to say 17.
I think it is 17.
17-year cycle. So I'm like, okay, that is present in biology, the idea of something,
going dormant for a long time. Yeah.
So I think that's interesting to put a predator going dormant in as a concept is a good idea. Now, as a showrunner who would want a second season, it's a terrible idea because...
Yeah, why do you think that? Because I think it offers up interesting time frames for you to go back to. I mean, it has to be prequel now because we all know what happens to it, ultimately. But so we can go back to whatever it might be, 1950, 1927, 1900. It's kind of cool that way.
Yes, except for we've already went back to where we had Native Americans here. They were a part of this story because remember they flashed back to when it was here the last time already. So it would have to be pre that.
Yeah.
So the story would start to get similar because I don't think American Indian culture changed that much over periods of 30 years pre colonizers getting here.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
valid. No, very valid.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of one note. You can only go one place unless you're going to go into the future, which you can't because they killed it. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on that.
And we spun off of that locust concept because I think it's because we did a rewatch of all the Exorcists.
Yes.
And Exorcist 2, it was like, what is happening? And like the whole idea that focus on the locust being like a spreader of like famine and disease and just misery and evil. And that got us on like, oh, let's learn about locusts. And then it kind of ties into it and its cycles of terror.
I would love the opportunity to talk about The Exorcist 2, but I fear the fate of our podcast should we detour into talking about old movies that nobody watches.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
And not good old movies too.
Okay, so what do you think the show does better than the films?
I don't know if I'm going to compare and contrast show versus film. There are some things that really stood out, like when Welcome to Derry was running the ending credits. I was instantly like, I think they tackled a lot of complicated supernatural ideas very well and made them palatable and put them into a world where I believed them. And it wasn't like hokey or cheesy or like, oh my God, this is so corny. Ideas like psychics and sensitives in the military. And we can see through history that stuff happened. I mean, we know about like Nazi history and Hitler's obsession with like supernatural artifacts. I mean, and that can be handled in a way where you're like, it's an eye roll, but it really wasn't. In this world of Americana, I was able to accept that. And the fact that the guy was black, I thought tied right into the racial sensitivity that was like written into this script. And I thought that was like really interesting to include because they didn't have to include that.
It's true. I thought that the racial tension was interesting. I liked that they had people of color as main characters and they didn't feel tokenized to me. They felt like a legitimate part of the story.
No,
that had
100%.
Real purpose being there. And it actually was a big part of the story.
No, it was big. And just because you mentioned them, that entire family, the Hanlons and the dad who's in the military, the mom who was like a pivotal human rights activist, and then the daughter, they were great. I mean, as far as like the cast and the acting, I thought that they were like believable. They were great. I think someone who really stood out for me as maybe my favorite character was Dick Halloran, the guy played by Chris Chalk.
Not Dick Halloran. Is that his name?
Dick Halloran. What?
It sounds like a porn name. I didn't catch that name.
Wow. This is the psychic guy who, his grandmother taught him to kind of keep his thoughts in the box, but then it kind of torments him and lets it out of the box. I thought he was great. I mean, he made me nervous every time he was on screen. He was such an unreliable narrator. I thought he was fantastic.
Not to be confused with the original chef from the Overlook Hotel.
Easily interchangeable, but right.
Both had powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and both characters' grandmothers teach them about their powers.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Huh.
So what do you think? Are there things that stand out to you that the show Welcome to Derry does better than the movies?
I actually thought maybe you cared about the characters a little more. I think, but with the show, because you had time to flesh them out, I also kind of like these characters better than the main characters in
really?
I did. And I forget her name. I know in lore she's one of the main characters' moms, but like I said, I'm not a scholar on Stephen King. Glasses, I forget her name.
Eye Patch.
Love like Glasses, Eye Patch.
Marge is the character name.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love the character. I just want to see a movie about her. And to me, there's a couple of things. One thing I hated about her, but I loved her too. She was like either a full-blown adult that worked at the grocery store, like chain smoker, who was just inhabiting a small person's body, because nobody ever cared about her. She didn't have a parent to see. She'd go out all night. She's always in the streets. She was always like...
She's always out in the streets.
She was. Remember, she stayed out at the club all night?
Yeah.
The club burnt down. She almost got killed. Didn't matter. She still came back. She stabbed herself in the eye and still was at school the next day.
Yeah, hanging out in the clubhouse
yeah, they
the
just
next
let her
day.
go head to the clubhouse. You're okay. I don't know who raised this kid or where she's from, but I loved her. And she kept getting beat up and flipped out of things and injured and caught on fire and shit. It's cracking me up.
Yeah.
So I really liked her character. Definitely went off topic there, but whatever. Glasses for president.
Yay.
Where did you think it pulled its punches, if it did, compared to the films? Like, was it too soft on the kids, do you think, or anything like that?
I think it started really strong because we saw half the gang get slaughtered in the theater,
Right.
which was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was so cool.
Well, and then that one main character suffocated in the fire. That little kid.
Yeah. But I think they were hitting us pretty heavily in episodes like maybe like 1, 2, and 3. But I think for a long swath of time, we got lost in like military drama and like, the daughter of It, who we refer to as She-It. Because I'm not sure that we needed that character at all. I think we went totally off the rails.
She-It is something else.
Yeah.
And then I thought they were setting She-It to be part of season 2, but they're not, because She-It turns into a granny, and then we see the granny in the movie. So I'm like, oh, she's done. So
yeah.
I'm like, okay, I don't know that we needed her.
That was like a really strange detour. And,
It was.
And I want to back up just to Pennywise, as a character and his inclusion, obviously, in Welcome to Derry. I thought Bill Skarsgård revisiting the role was cool. He was very much in that character.
Let me tell you something. If I ever do a horror movie, I am casting the ugliest, scariest looking person you've ever seen. I don't know why they keep casting hot people to play monsters. Just cast someone that already looks like a monster. It's easier, and they're used to being a freak. I mean, seriously, let them get their revenge, honey. Give them their power. Let them hunchback out of the cathedral and take down some people. Get vengeance. If you're a Quasimodo-looking person, you're hired. I'm casting you in my movie.
Oh my God, that's too funny.
All right, so you didn't feel like it really pulled its punches necessarily.
I think it started really strong, but then we kind of like it fizzled to me, and I didn't really care for the end. I thought it got way too like literally like Scooby-Doo, like Indian Burial Ground, and let's come up with this wacky plan to kill the evil. I thought we went to like very strange places. I thought it started strong and ended weird.
And why is it an Indian Burial Ground again? Indian Burial Ground is under the Overlook. Indian Burial Ground is in Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
I mean, if you start to get in one of these Stephen King books and something starts happening and you have to figure it out with your cast of friends on your bike, just find the nearest Indian Burial Ground, because that's the problem.
Go to the casino, because that's where you're going to get the answer.
Go right there, dig under the casino. There's going to be a rock or something, and you'll solve the puzzle. But I thought it pulled its punches in terms of the ending. It started harsh, like you said, and then it started to get soft. Mm-hmm. We started to get real soft at the end, and we started to get very Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. We're on our bike, and oh my God, if we add this to that, and we figured out that's why I hate movies with kids in it, when they start figuring stuff out. I'm like, the kids I hung out with when I was a kid were dumb as rocks, and if anything came out, they would either they would, if they were stronger than it, they would beat it to death, or it would beat them to death, and then the story is over.
I mean, the kids, if there was some kind of crazy shit like that going on in my town and my friends, we would be like running in the other direction, not toward it. That's for sure.
I mean, my friends entertained themselves by turning all the lights off in the house, putting potatoes in a pillowcase, and swinging wildly into the dark to beat each other to death.
No. No, I've heard that before, but that seemed like a stereotype thing that no one ever really did.
You know something else? I absolutely used to have my friends run around with trash can shields while I shot them with BB guns.
Oh, that sounds absolutely true.
And they tried to deflect them,
yeah,
and it didn't always work. But it was a perfect like Captain America shield. It was entertaining.
It sounds like you would be a great addition to the Derry Scooby-Doo gang.
It would have went down a lot differently. Me and Goggles would have we'd have got that quivering girl. She's out.
Yeah.
She's out. She has no value to us.
I thought she did. Clara Stack, she plays Lily Bainbridge, who's like one of the main characters. When she did that, like being on the edge of tears in the hysteria, I thought she did that great. Like nobody could do that better than you. But that's all she did. I mean, she was that like teary-eyed, quivering, like scared girl for 8 hours of TV.
You know what else? Kids aren't always good, right? So like one thing I might have done differently is, let's say Glasses, who was morally ambiguous because she threw her real friends under the bus to be with the cool kids. And that's why I loved her. She was very flawed. Mm-hmm. Glasses could have thrown Quivering under the, like, she could have made a plan to where they knew it was going to come after them, and she threw them like cannon fodder, and they died so that she could save the town or something like that. That might have been a little more believable than the ending that they had, which was like, let's all get together and we're going to push this, thing into the tree, and then the one spirit's going to play. It got very cheesy. I did not like the ending.
Yeah. All right. If we're going to pick apart a little bit, I like that they tried to give us emotional moments to attach to the characters. Was it cool that the little boy put her in the box and he loved her even with her like crazy half melted face, and then he died in that fire? I'm like, could that really happen? I'm not sure. I don't know. I need to talk to the fire department. I need to chat GPT this shit, because if you're in a room, if you're in a barn that's on fire enough to like smoke everybody out and kill them from asphyxiation, wouldn't it be even harder to breathe if you were inside a box?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? It's not like a filter.
The only air in the box. Well, if it was sealed like a cooler, the only air in the box would have been what was already in the air, which was smoke. So I don't know.
Or
You're right.
How many hours can you stay in a? Yeah, we need to get to the bottom of this.
They'll hang up on us.
You know what I did love thinking about Lily is the inclusion of Juniper Hill. Like the kind of like the specter right on the edge of town. Like, do you want to go back to Juniper Hill?
Dun, dun, dun.
It became so camp, like the idea, like this asylum. You know what I mean?
I felt like it was like Don Davenport talking to our kid. Don't make me send you back to Juniper Hill, Penny.
Totally.
Wait, Penny? What's her name? Bill Penny Pingleton was from Hairspray. That's another character.
You're the, Taffy.
Taffy. Do you think period horror, because a lot of these shows seem to be, that are working right now, are period pieces. Why do you think period pieces resonate with people so well?
I don't know. The first thing that jumps to mind is the modern era is so all over the place, I think, with its influences and style and everything. When you look back at these period tales of horror, whether that be from the 80s or the 50s or even like the early 1900s, it's filled with style. It's very distinct, like from the clothes to the music to the way that people lived, like these little kids on their bikes in the secret hideout, and that very like the mom like smoking and talking shit, like all of that, the Americana of it all. It brings you to a place, and I think it's filled with texture and things that people can attach to, and then you lay the backdrop of, like, in this case, a cosmic creature, or the racial tension, or psychics in the military, and all this kind of cool stuff. It just enriches what's already very rich.
That's a actually really interesting observation, because it, as a production, it gives you a lot to play with, an immediate nostalgia for people that lived during that time, or a lot of people romanticize earlier eras. Even though, let me tell you, there are trashy and crappy places in every era. And for some reason in these shows, we always see the most beautiful versions. But,
Yeah.
you know, just like in our
Idealized.
world. Yeah, it's not. But still, it does give you a rich tapestry to play with.
You know, and I'm jumping ahead now. I'm like, well, who does it well now where they kind of like can give you the same rich tapestry and texture? Brian Fuller did it with Dust Bunny. Like Dust Bunny is modern, but it's filled with that imagery that's just as rich as these nostalgic pieces.
You're right. And I wonder too if that's something he learned as a filmmaker, because a lot of films that he likes have a very rich production design like that. And I wonder if when he was like, okay, I'm going to make my first feature, I want to incorporate my version of that to make a great film. I wonder.
Yeah. Well, he's a powerful gay, and gays have that kind of taste level. So
That's true too. Although there's some, Ryan Murphy, don't have that power.
That's true.
Yeah. I think the reason the period horror keeps working is for the very same reason that a lot of horror tales that I write or that I'm interested in making take place between the 1920s and the 1940s. The reason being is I find it hard to write a story for today that's scary because of technology.
Yeah.
Because I feel like technology limits, it's like, you know, you can call anybody anywhere at any time, at any place in the world, immediately FaceTime them, whatever.
And GPS and access to information, answering any question you want answered.
Yeah, immediately you're like, there's a clown at my window. ChatGPT, what's that? Oh, that's a clown escape from. Oh, okay, so it's safe. Oh, okay, cool, good. Forget it. Turn the light off. You know,
Yeah.
and you didn't have those resources, and your imagination could almost become part of the horror, right? You can think up things and there's no way to disprove it immediately at your fingertips or call someone that can talk you off the ledge.
Yeah.
So I can see why period horror keeps working.
Mm-hmm. You know, I have a not so fun fact that I think I'm willing to share. In reference to like Juniper Hill Asylum, there is a very famous asylum in my home state called Fairfield. It's called Fairfield Hills Hospital. It's been on a ton of shows. It has like this supernatural aura. There's hidden tunnels in it, a really dark history, and it's super notorious for being haunted. And my grandmother was a patient there.
And do you mean that it's in a lot of movies and stuff referenced, or it's as a location?
What do you mean?
Like, do they shoot it? Do they use the old hospital as a location for filming?
I think, I don't know, but I do think that like those like ghost hunter shows and stuff go there because it has like an infamous reputation for being haunted. And like a lot of like, you know, the kind of horrible stuff that you hear about like electroshock therapy and like, God, when you think about mental health services back in this era that we're talking about, that is real terror.
That
is scary.
Seriously, that's something I've thought about before is like, and because, you know, I don't have anything else to do with my time. So I find in my off time, I sit around and think about things, how horrible it would be to be someone who experienced that back then. The hopelessness of just knowing you're lost in the system, never to be heard from again. You have no one to advocate for you, no way to get out, no way to get better.
Not only that, and you're subject to this barbaric experimentation on mental health. I follow this account and it kind of talks about LGBTQ plus history, and it's kind of depressing, honestly, because some of it is so dark, and it reminds me how liberated we are today, even though we're all facing like a lot of constraints and a lot of like changes in our country now. But this is like back from the 40s or 50s, and there was a guy who his family had him committed because he was homosexual, and they lobotomized him. Like the therapy was that they could change his brain and take those urges away, but it took his whole entire personality away. He was like a vegetable. It's just nightmarish.
Now you're setting me off on two different tangents. Tangent one, based on the things you said today, at the beginning you talked about politics and darkness, and now you're talking about this account you follow. I am failing you by not setting up your parental controls. The content that you are reading is not appropriate for you. You're happy and funny, and you're lighthearted. And if you start thinking about this shit, we're doomed, because that's all I think about all the time. So we got to do that. And
there's
the
a
second
darkness
thing
about this
is,
era, though. There's a darkness about this time of the year, and I'm feeling it.
there is, but the second thing is what you're saying about homosexuality. And it actually ties into what you were talking at the beginning of the episode with current politics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar. Let me see if I can connect these thoughts here. We're experiencing this horror in government right now. I think because it's been 3 generations since we've dealt with anything real. And people after World War II realized that might does not make right. Because of the weapons we have now as a human race, it is no longer about take what you want, justify what's good for you. That doesn't work anymore. And it hasn't worked for a long time. We have to lead by example as the world's superpower to let states of all size flourish, and that it's better for the globe to succeed than just you. It's an enlightened point of view. And because we have taken that for granted, we haven't experienced those things. Mm-hmm. What's it matter? Let this reality show fool take over the country, take over Greenland. Who cares? It doesn't mean anything. It's going to mean something. And it honestly probably will lead towards World War III. But
that's the scariest outcome.
Yes.
And now I think because of this Venezuela thing, it's step 1 to take a dance right to hell.
And so similarly, I think in the queer community, which we can speak about because obviously we're a part of the queer community, I see that happening today. I see people, really young queer people, taking for granted the rights that are very recent in our history, gay rights.
Yeah.
And this whole like white gays this, white gays that whole thing, it's so fucking dangerous. It's so dangerous because it's like we've taken for granted that there's been progress in that lane. It hasn't been long enough ago that I can still remember how horrible it was for gay people when we were growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even people like you would get killed. You would get beat up and killed and nobody cared. And, you know, it was the whole HIV crisis. Like there's just so much to it. And it's only in recent years because people fought and I watched them fight with my eyes to get some sort of recognition. And no, not everybody has recognition, but it's a good start, you know? And I don't know. It bothers me. I feel like we take for granted. I see people that are on our show go online and bag. Like if you're just a gay guy, you might as well be a Republican. I'm like, that's not the tea. That's not it. You know, we are in this together as a group. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of layers to that. I understand where people are coming from. I'd feel justified if I was part of any kind of marginalized community and I felt underrepresented. I don't care if the person next to me, I get killed, but they just get beat up. Well, that's an injustice to me. So I get where it comes from, but we need to unify. We need to unify and support one another.
I agree. We've talked about that a little bit here and there on the podcast, and I guess it's so big, and I think we get inundated with information. It's easy for it to go in one ear and right out the other. But the one thing that I think is the first step is that it's not really about gay and straight and trans and cis and black and white and all these things. To me, the way that I see it is about the haves and the have-nots, and there are so many more have-nots than there are haves.
You said it. And that's the other part of what's happening in government right now. Rules for thee, not for me. That's what they're showing. They're showing us that, because I even thought about that. You know, you think, why do I work so hard to be right, to be a good person, to have...
Or to do things... It's because you have integrity and you have a moral compass. And
right.
Going back to what you were saying, might is right, but we don't need a lesson to tell us that other people have the right to exist, because inside, I think a lot of people already know what's good and what's not good. I don't need someone to tell me. I don't need the church to tell me. I don't need my parent to tell me. I don't need
clearly not the government.
Definitely not the government. Like, you kind of know if you respect things like culture and anthropology and even some of the base elements of the good parts of like religion, live and let live.
But that's why this is dangerous, because it destabilizes society. When you look at me as a business owner and I say, wow, so I guess laws don't matter. It's more abstract. It just applies to us, the little people.
Right.
That's where it gets weird and it starts to distort your sense of society. You're like, I don't want to help anybody. I should just go over, that production company has a better server than me. If I can get away with it, why don't I just go over there and break in and take it? I mean, that's what we're being shown.
Exactly.
And the difference is I have integrity and they don't. And that's the truth. All right. Back to Derry. Last question. Would you want to go back to Derry? Would you want to watch another season of this show?
If they reskinned the Indian Council and didn't make it so stereotypical in Scooby-Doo, and if more kids died, yes.
Wow.
Look, that is what would happen. You know, like we're educated now to believe that the history of Pennywise, the clown, like why a clown? Why is this outer space force like take the shape of a clown? And it's because he took all these other forms in its early existence. One of them being like a giant
spider,
and a moose too. There was like these.
I didn't read the moose, but I'm sure you're right.
I didn't read it. I saw it in Welcome to Derry. This was back in like with the Indian, like when it was more like their culture, and Pennywise started showing itself. He came in as like this demonic. I thought it was a moose.
I don't know, maybe.
It took the forms relative to its prey. That's how I read it. And then watching from the woods in the form of a little boy, when he approached Pennywise the man, Shiit's dad, he taught him, he's like, oh, the children are attracted to you. The children gravitate to you. And I think in that moment, Pennywise, the evil force, the creature that feeds on fear, learned that a clown was seductive to the mind of a child. And what gives you more fear? And for him, more food than the fear of a child. And that's why we have Pennywise the clown in his form that he keeps coming back and back and back. And let me just say, I loved when he was like covered in blood from the mid face down, like the whole time, just a total red suit. So cool. But that's why we need to see more dead kids, because that is Pennywise's prey of choice.
Well, I would go back to Derry under two conditions. One, Glasses is the main character and she doesn't get much older. 2, she starts to chain smoke. And 3, she starts to become part of the problem. Like she wants to reactivate it or shit or somebody. That's what I want to see. Otherwise, I'm good.
So sit with that. Let that be what you marinate on while we take our second break, and we'll be right back.
All right, everybody, we are back and it's time to answer your listener questions. Remember, if you have any questions for us, please write us at creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com and we will do our best to answer your query on air.
Our first question comes from Kate from Indianapolis. Kate writes, are you ever going to release your digital drag shows? Maybe on the Patreon you keep hinting at.
That could potentially happen in this first quarter of the year. I think so. I mean, they're a little silly. Like, you know, now that we're so far out from the pandemic, I think people will look at them with less tender eyes, less forgiving eyes.
Yeah. Well, we have to remind everyone at the time we were all trapped, even the Boulets, but we made good use of that time. So we were producing videos in our loft and in our workspace. And it was actually really kind of fun. I mean, what a moment to be alive. It sucked. But when you think back at it, what a very special, very specific period in the history of our country, of the world, really.
It depends on how many premium subscribers we get. And if we can get to Christine McConnell level, I'll release them. No, I'm kidding.
They're so good. I'm actually really proud of them. Like what we're able to like produce and achieve with such limited resources.
Darren from Derry, Ireland asks, Housewives question. So I've recently watched Dallas, and if you haven't watched it, chaotic. Do you think Tamra leaked, and do you think Lisa leaked Salt Lake City? What Darren is referring to is on the Real Housewives of Orange County, there was some drama at the reunion, and Tamra was accused of leaking production secrets to blogs. And then similarly on Salt Lake City, Lisa has been accused of leaking stuff to the press as well. I'm going to say I do not believe Tamra leaked because she's too much of a pro. She knows that this is a job, and I just don't think she would do that. Lisa, yes, I do think she did it. What's your opinion, Swan?
I agree with you about Tamra, and I'm going to quote Jaharia when it comes to Lisa. Did she leak information about the season? Probably.
One of my favorite quotes. Simple, probably.
Lydia writes, I know there's a degree of separation between y'all and many decisions behind the tour management and planning, but can you give us any updates, explanations for why tickets still aren't available for only Kansas City stop? I love you both and the whole Dragula team, cast and crew, of course. And I'm also only asking out of uncontrollable anticipation for the show's arrival in my city. Love ya.
Lydia, I'm going to blame She-It for this. I think She-It is behind the website not working. No, I don't know. I would say I don't know anything about tour tickets or anything like that. There is a tour company called Obsessed. They're mighty fine people. There's emails to them, I'm sure, on social media and the ticket site. Please email them. I'm sure they'll get back to you and give you a good explanation. But I think, honestly, the response has been really big, and they're working behind the scenes to make it even bigger. But yeah, reach out to them and see. Teresa asks, Drac, can you elaborate on the type of china you have and the pattern? Where and how did you get it? Also, is it used daily at Boulet Manor, or do you reserve it for your candlelight suppers? I kind of want to save this one for TikTok. I kind of want to make a TikTok and share the whole thing. So subscribe to us on TikTok if you haven't, or follow, or whatever the hell you do on all these stupid platforms. And I'll share it with you there, but we do not use it daily. I don't want to hand wash dishes every day. That's not happening. I love to do it when we have people over and we have little seance dinner parties and stuff. I'll hand wash those, put on some music. And
here's how it works in Boulet Manor. Do we use the china daily? Absolutely not. These are for special candlelight suppers and gatherings of a certain caliber friend. I am the cook, and Drac lays out the gorgeous spread, and together it's a very entertaining night.
You prepare the food, and I display the food.
Roger from Phoenix, Arizona asks, also, after hearing your opinions on the best and worst horror movies of 2025, I am surprised neither of you said Bambi, The Reckoning, for the worst movie. Did you watch it, or did it not even come across your radar? Oh my God, I can only imagine that this is like Blood and Honey, and they did another one of Screamboat Willie. I wasn't even aware of Bambi, The Reckoning. I did not watch it. It did not make my radar.
Yeah, I don't have an appetite for those movies. I'm assuming the same thing that you did, that it comes from that same production company. I don't understand why they shoved so many out. You know, they made Winnie the Pooh, and then they made Blood and Honey, and then it was like it seemed like there was one every 2 weeks or something. I feel like they used all their content up too quickly. They could have. First of all, somebody must like it because they're going to the movies, I assume. But they could have just saved it and put one out a year or something like that, and had kept going for a long time. But
I'll tell you why.
What is it?
Well, because they struck a little bit of gold with the first one, and they realized, we could make some money. Horror is hot right now, and that movie was hot garbage, but people went to see it, and the rights are in public domain. So if they didn't race to do the next one and the next one, like anyone could kind of pick it up, because that's how they're doing it in the first place.
But did all these IPs sort of start falling out? I mean, maybe they did around the same time.
I think that's how it went.
So they probably knew in advance and started shooting this stuff a while ago,
I guess that's possible.
Multiple productions running it at the same time. I don't know. You guys let us know. Like, are any of them worth seeing? I saw the first Winnie the Pooh. I honestly thought it was terrible in every way possible. Not even in it was so terrible that it was entertaining. I just don't have an appetite for them. But if one of them sticks out, let us know. We'll give it a fair watch. Shaddy from Ireland says, watching Titans 2, I felt that there was often a distinct difference between how more and less experienced monsters would respond to tricky situations and characters, and it got me thinking. I would love to know how you two think you would have responded to being on a show like Dragula when you were younger, and how your response to the various challenges would be different now. You want to go first?
I think I would do really well on a show like Dragula. I love gamification of anything. So the curveballs of like plotting us and pitting us against each other, that shit excites me. I'm like, yes. And if someone betrayed me, I wouldn't be pissed. I'd be like, girl, she's good. She is good. It's a game, and I love games. So I think I would really thrive in it. What I wouldn't love is having to eat any kind of weird, gross, nasty shit because I just can't control that bleh reflex. It would be the same then, and it wouldn't change in modern times because I just can't control it. It's my Achilles heel.
I have often wondered how I would do. And I think automatically, I think it would end in disaster for me. I think it would be bad. I think I would go out... I think I would go out not in a way that anyone I've seen, but some sort of mix. I can't, it just would be bad. I don't think it would go. I don't think I'd be popular. I think I'd be a good villain. People would think I was a villain. I'm not a villain, but I know I would easily get characterized that way. But the new me says this. Historically speaking, that is not true. I think maybe, especially now, today, it would not go down that way. Back, if I was 21, it would be bad.
You would be fucking incredible. Honestly, I mean, it would be terrible. Your stint on the show would go up in absolute flames.
Oh yeah, yes.
But you would probably be eliminated because you got too aggressive and real and went crazy on somebody and like probably eviscerated them with words, threatened them physically, and then you got removed.
Yeah, I don't think I would hit anybody, but I know at the time, I mean, I think about when me and you first met and that one drag queen tried to pull that bullshit with, I did not react well to quippy, smart ass, and I came up in a rough rural area. So my way of dealing with things was not the right way to deal with things, but it would have been bad. Yeah.
Honestly, neither of us react well to that like sassy bullshit. Like,
well, I really didn't react to it well back then.
Oh, no. I'm even talking now. Like, we're not really like that at all. Like in our lives, like that.
The drag queen kind of banter. A lot of older drag queens are like that too. Like people that we know that were sort of before us. That's very like read each other. I'm like, bitch, don't read me. I'm like, that's not cute. I'm not in that world with you. I'm not at the bar.
That's what I'm talking about.
Not doing that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And finally, Louise me writes, my question to you both is, when did you realize the magnitude of your potential? Wow, that's really interesting. Fully owning your star power and creative capability. I'd love to hear what this awakening looked like for y'all.
I don't know that I've learned it yet, honestly. I think I have to remind myself. When you're in it, a lot of people listening probably see us as very successful, and we are successful, but there's always someone more successful than you. There's you always discover a new playground. You always go from high school and then you're like, oh shit, I'm in college now. And so I don't know if other people are different than that, but for me, I really look at myself as successful and grounded, but I don't have a chip on my shoulder about it in any way. And I always think, while I believe we're going to do so much more, I can also appreciate what we've done now and just sit with that. I don't feel like I'm some sort of special. I don't know. That's how I think of it.
You're kind of basically saying my feelings, but in your own words, because my immediate response was, well, I'm still discovering the magnitude of my potential. Mm-hmm. It's like a work in progress. There was a time when I felt so driven, the dream of the fantasy of Dragula and its success and how important and cool I thought it was, and kind of representing the unrepresented and celebrating the uncelebrated. I felt that was so important. I was willing to kind of risk everything. And when I think back now, I'm like, we took crazy, like put your well-being on the line for the show. But it didn't feel like that at the time. It felt like there's powerful fuel in the engine, and we're going to make it. We're going to make it. And I think we have, and in a lot of ways, we are successful, but we're still on that ride.
Yeah.
We're still going.
I think because we're self-made and we own our own production company and stuff, people don't I don't think people quite understand that. It's not like we're RuPaul and someone paid us to sit on this judge thing and I can make these demands and be bitchy. Like, the only person I'd be demanding is myself. So I think that's what keeps us very humble on set. And, you know, there's nothing we don't do that we're not risking our ass for. And that's the truth. And I mean our actual livelihood and well-being. That's what happens when you own a business, you know, especially a business of our size. So yeah, I think maybe that keeps us level-headed as far as where we fall in the zeitgeist of, quote, power.
Yeah.
Power is very subjective.
What I have learned, though, and just fully accept, is that you can really realize almost anything you want to have in your life if you're willing to fight for it.
I agree with that.
And it seems kind of cliche. Like, people tell you that shit when you're young and you're like, yeah, you hear so much. But the truth, my life has shown me, if you're willing to fight and continue, you can get what you want.
What about people that fight and continue and they're just there, but they're not getting what they want? Do you think they're unfocused?
I don't know them. I don't hang out with those kind of people.
I can tell you know of them. Anyways.
My answer to that is this. You just haven't earned it yet, baby.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night. Make sure you get your tickets to the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titan Season 2 tour at dragulalive.com. And remember to rate, subscribe, and review wherever you listen to this podcast. And send us your listener questions to creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com. And again, we will try to answer them live on air. Until next time, uglies.
The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted and produced by Glamour and Swantula Boulet, with music by Neuron Spector.